Let's talk about it, folks. The Los Angeles Lakers have agreed to a trade with the Brooklyn Nets in which the Lakers are going to be sending Maxwell Lewis, D'Angelo Russell, and 3 second-round picks to the Nets in exchange for Dorian Finney-Smith and Shake Milton. Now, my initial reaction to this trade is like everybody else. This is not a power move that changes the standings out west. This doesn't make the Lakers overnight contenders or anything like that. There's a lot of basketball and a lot of improvement that they're going to need to see on the floor and in the locker room as a team to make the strides that they want to see. This single trade is not going to change the trajectory at all. But what it does do is it does help them. And I think the Lakers are in a sense right now where they should have been thinking like this for a while, in my opinion. This should have always been the mentality as far as acquiring talent and roster construction is not always looking to hit the home run, but instead to make the small minor moves that add up over time and allow you to continue to have flexibility and to not put too much stress on your team and your assets. And in the past, with the LeBron and Anthony Davis era, we've kind of seen the opposite. The Lakers have continually been tied to the biggest names on the market, whether they fit or not, like the DeMar DeRozans of the world, like the Russell Westbrooks of the world. They are always tied into guys based on their star appeal versus the fit and how much, it's going to help improve from an on-floor perspective. So I do appreciate the Lakers finally waking up and realizing, hey, just because all of these guys are on the market, Jimmy Butler is on the market, even though there's no way that they would be able to afford him. That is the typical type of Laker thing. Like, let's find a way to get Jimmy Butler. He's an all-star. He's, you know what I mean? He has a big name. He has his own shoe. Let's figure out how to go get that guy. But this time they take a step back. They go out and get a guy who is legitimately a 3-and-D wing, the prototypical type of player that I think the Lakers should have always looked after since adding in Anthony Davis and LeBron James. This is the type of player that they should have surrounded their team with for years. Low, expensive, or low paying 3-and-D wings who can come in, guard multiple positions, play without the basketball, and every now and then you go out and you get a Malik Monk, or you are able to draft a Austin Reeves or Dalton Connect who can come in and make some things happen with the basketball. But for the most part, you want guys who thrive without the basketball so that they can play next to an Anthony Davis and LeBron James and also take the stress off of an aging LeBron on the defensive end of the basketball floor. So I like this, even though I do, and I've said it for a million times now, I do think some of this is a little late, right? LeBron is literally on the last leg of his career, and they're finally starting to kind of shift the way that they think and the way that they maneuver in the trade market or whatnot. So I'm disappointed in that. But all in all, it's a great move and it's a step in the right direction for this season. The second thing that I like about this trade is the fact that the Grizzlies all yesterday were the team that was linked to Dorian Finney-Smith. It felt like this is the team that was going to get them. The Memphis Grizzlies, I kept seeing report after report after report. So for the Lakers to find a way to swoop in and not only acquire him for their own sake, but to then stop a conference foe or a team that's ahead of you, the quote-unquote competition, from getting him and improving, I think that's also a really good chess move. Now, the Grizzlies still have a bunch of assets. They could go and get another wing from the Brooklyn Nets, like a Cam Johnson, which would probably be an even better move for them. But, in a world where they necessarily don't get him, you did just hinder the competition, a team that's ahead of you. So I do like that. And then lastly, the most important thing from the Lakers' perspective is the fact that they were able to go and get a player like Dorian Finney-Smith without having to give up the first round equity. The 2029, the 2031, that is your real big valuable piece. And I'm not sure if the Lakers are going to move it, either one of those pieces. I still have no idea. But if they are going to find a move that makes sense to use those picks, or, one of them or both of them, you still have them. You know what I mean? My biggest fear was that they were going to panic and they were going to include one of those picks for Dorian Finney-Smith type of player or type of package. And though I like Dorian Finney-Smith, I do not personally believe him or any of the players on the market right now are really worth that type of package where you're trading away a pick that's going to belong to a team and a roster that probably won't have LeBron James. Not even probably. It won't have LeBron James. And even if it still has Anthony Davis, he's going to now be at LeBron's age. So the state of the Lakers in 2029 or 2031, it just doesn't look like it's going to be a very good, team that the Lakers are going to have at that time, unless they're able to finesse the free agency market, again, by landing another superstar that we just can't see right now. I just don't believe that that's going to be the case. So I think you hold those draft picks close to your chest and you hold those hostage unless some type of move arrives that feels like it can shift the Western Conference and shift your trajectory to being a contending team. The Lakers are still a really good team. I don't sleep on the Lakers at all. They're one of those teams because they have LeBron, because they have Anthony Davis. If they are clicking at the right time in the playoffs, they can be dangerous, they can be scary. And if they make the right moves, because I don't think that they're done, they can, flip this roster and construct it a new way where they'll be better suited for playoff basketball, and a lot of teams won't want to see them in a 7-game series. The way that Austin Reeves has been playing this season, the early portion of the season that we got from Anthony Davis, I believe that that's still, his capability. The rare occasional moments where LeBron is taking over halves or taking over quarters and taking over games, he's still obviously able to do that. That makes a scary playoff team. And if you go in and you add a Dorian Finney-Smith, if you find a way to add some size, which I think will probably be the next pivot or next move, to go out and get a Robert Williams, to go out and get a, Valanciunas or whatever, Nikola Vucevic, you go out and make that next move, you now come in with a team that has a little bit of everything. They have shot creation. They have Dalton Connect and Max Christie, guys who can knock down shots. Dorian Finney-Smith is a two-way wing who's now shooting 40% from three, career year. You have the defense, rim protection with Anthony Davis and Dorian Finney-Smith on the perimeter now. And then you can go out and get some size one way or another to have some versatility to your lineup. That checks a lot of boxes for a team that could be dangerous in the playoffs. So I'm very interested to see what the next step is and what's going to be involved in the next trade, right? Because acquiring Dorian Finney-Smith also makes me feel like you may be a little bit more comfortable with dealing Rui. And I know Rui has been solid for the Lakers. Apparently, he's a guy that they really like, rightfully so. But they don't like him enough to the point where he's untouchable. So if the right deal or the right situation comes around, he's probably going to have to be included. Your biggest moneymaker for making contracts match is now out the window with D'Angelo Russell. He's gone with that $19 million salary, which was really, really good on an expiring year. So now you'll have to be able to get creative, and you'll have the Jared Vanderbilt contract, which is a little bit, a little lengthy, has a few years on there. And then you have the Rui contract, which I think has another 2 years there too, which makes me feel like if you do make this next trade, you might have to include one or the other or both. Plus, you have Gabe Vincent's $11 million expiring contract, I believe it is. And you still have, $25 million type dollars that you could add up with those contracts. But the player for player value makes me feel like you'll probably have to attach the 2029 pick in one of those moves. And that gets you a Vucevic or a Valanciunas, unless there's something that I don't know and the market doesn't command the first round pick. You know what I mean? So far, we've seen the Dorian Finney-Smith trade. We've seen this Dennis Schroeder trade, both Brooklyn Net trades, and it has not commanded a first round pick. The rumored package that the Grizzlies had on the table for Dorian Finney-Smith, it included a first round pick. I don't know if that report was false. I don't know if that's why the trade didn't happen, is because the Grizzlies were kind of like, hey, we're not giving up a first round pick, and the Lakers gave out 3 seconds. I don't know if that was the holdup, but sure enough, I don't believe that if the Grizzlies had a package of John Conchar, whoever else was rumored to be in there, it was another player, Luke Kennard, and then a first round pick. I believe the Nets probably take that. So somewhere along the lines that had to be false, or there had to be some type of bridge that wasn't able to be crossed about that first round pick. And when the Lakers came knocking with the expiring deals, a young Maxwell Lewis, who I like, and I'll talk about in a second, in the 3 seconds, the Nets probably just took it. So right now the market has been set by the Nets to where multiple second round picks gets the job done. It has not been a first round heavy trade market. So I'm gonna keep my eye on that, because if there's a world where the Lakers are able to continue to maneuver with second round draft capital and these big contracts, then I'm going to really, really, really applaud Rob Pelinka and the Lakers for being able to finesse around the league this much without giving up the 2029 and 2031. Because believe it or not, those picks have probably some of the most value around the NBA right now. A couple other things I want to talk about as far as the Lakers' perspective before we go on to the Nets side of this trade. According to Bobby Marks, who I would suggest anybody who's interested in the NBA at an in-depth level, follow Bobby Marks. And if you don't follow him, just keep up with him when trades happen. Because right now he's dropping a lot of information that goes beyond the player for player value of the trade. So he says the Lakers get much needed wing depth and flexibility below the second apron. They are now $3.5 million below the second apron. Before the trade, they were only $30,000 below the second apron. So that's a big, big sign of relief for the Lakers. They get a little bit more breathing room because we know how hard and tough the second apron is. And most of it is because you sent out more money than you brought back. Dorian Finney-Smith makes approximately $14.9 million. We'll round it up to $15 million. Shake Milton, $2.9. We'll round it up to $3 million. So that's together $18 million. And on the flip side for the Lakers, you sent out approximately with D'Angelo Russell and Maxwell Lewis. Maxwell is 1.8. We'll round it up to 2. And D'Angelo is 18.7. We'll round it up to 19. So you sent out about 21 million and you brought back 18, which allowed you to create the flexibility to now be 3.5 below the second apron. So shout out to the Lakers, because that is a very huge deal in that regards. And like he said, again, the Lakers tax bill now drops from before the trade, it was a $53.2 million tax bill. And now after the trade, it's down to $42 million. So you now cut your tax bill by $11.2 million. And obviously the luxury tax is something that teams are very weary of. Even before the second apron or any of the apron stuff, the luxury tax has been something that you want to make sure that you're using wisely. And now it creates a little bit more breathing room. So maybe if there is a trade that they're bringing in and they want to keep a Rui or whatever, maybe they can have a little bit more breathing room and not necessarily having to make every single dollar match, which is important because they're, again, not a second apron team. So you don't have to worry about, making that money match specifically or dollar for dollar. And you have a little bit more breathing room to go over. Some other things is prior to the trade, the Los Angeles Lakers have 4 seconds available, tradable draft assets remaining. So they have 3 firsts. They have 2027, 1 through 4. They have 2029 and then 2030. And now they have 1 second round pick. So again, based on this information, I would have to assume that maybe one of these first round picks is now involved. But again, if there is a world where the Lakers are able to make a expiring Gabe Vincent $11 million work, then hey, I'll give you that. And I'm sorry, it's not expiring. Gabe Vincent has $11 million this year, and he has 11.5 next year. If you're able to take that salary and a Rui Hachimura who has the same length of contract, so Rui, Gabe Vincent, they both have contracts where they'll have this year to play out, and then next year is the final year of the deal, and there's no player option on either deal. But then you look at a Jared Vanderbilt who has this year, 2 more years after, and then a player option after. So Jared Vanderbilt has legitimately 3 more years after this year contractually. And he has a healthy amount of money on this contract, which if I'm the Lakers and the right opportunity comes along and I'm going to have to trade a first-round pick, I'm telling whatever team that I use this first-round pick for, I'm saying that you have to take Jared Vanderbilt. I want Jared Vanderbilt a part of that trade because I need to get this salary off for my future flexibility. You're going to be paying 10.7 this year, 11.5 next year, 12.4 the following year, and then 13.2 player option. I'm just saying, hey, this is $11 million. You can take Gabe Vincent's $11 million with his $11 million. That's around $22 million. and then I'm gonna give you that first round pick, and and give me whatever I need or whatever I'm asking for. But if I'm, even if I'm giving Rui up, hey, you got to take Jared Vanderbilt. You have to. I cannot continue to have. How much is this? This is like $40 million, $34 million. This is almost 40 million. Yeah, I can't have $35 million of salary just sitting here from a player who, as much as I like Jared Vanderbilt, he has not been available for us, and it almost feels like he's not a Laker at this point. I sometimes honestly forget about Jared Vanderbilt, which is crazy considering how much I'm a fan of his game, especially when he was in Minnesota, D'ing up the way he was. Now, on the flip side, for the Nets get back D'Angelo Russell, who is an expiring deal. That's what they're going to be looking for, like the Anthony Melton and the Warriors trade. That's $12 million. That's now going to go off the books in free agency. You now add $19 million. That's going to go off the books in free agency. And I would imagine the Cam Johnson trade, and whoever else is going to be available, they'll probably look to get expiring deals in that as well with some type of draft capital. And Cam Johnson will probably give you the first round draft capital that you have not been able to receive. I like it for them. Continue to get expiring money. I really like Maxwell Lewis in Brooklyn. He's a guy that I really liked for the Lakers. I love coming out of Pepperdine. I was a huge, huge, huge buyer and believer in Maxwell Lewis. I still am. Don't feel like he was able to get enough run and opportunity with a veteran playoff contending Laker team who's thinking championship or bust. You now can maybe in the second half of the year or the rest of the year go out and play in Brooklyn and get a little bit more run. Especially after the trade deadline passes. They're going to be a very intriguing roster to look at, the Brooklyn Nets, because you're going to have guys like Cam Thomas still being able to get up a bunch of shots. You're going to have the Maxwell Lewises. You're going to have the Noah Clowneys. You're going to have Dariq Whitehead. All of these different guys who we have, been interested in seeing develop. You're not going to have a little bit of opportunity seeing them. We've already seen a few of these guys, right? We've seen some Day'Ron Sharpe. We've seen some Trendon Watford. We've seen some Tyrese Martin moments this season already. Zaire Williams looks like a different player than some of the previous years with the Memphis Grizzlies. Noah Clowney has been getting some run. Keon Johnson, Jalen Wilson. I believe the second half of the season, or whenever the rest of these guys get moved, like a Cam Johnson, don't know where Nick Claxton stands. I don't see him getting traded, but I don't think it's impossible either. And then whatever they want to do with Ben Simmons, whether that's buy him out or whatever, I think that's going to open up a second half of the season where the Nets are just going to have this very youthful team where we're going to be able to see some guys get real NBA minutes who we have no idea who they are as NBA players yet. I really don't know anything about Dariq Whitehead as a pro basketball player. I know everything about him at the high school level. I know about his one and done year at Duke, but as a professional basketball player, I have not seen much from Dariq Whitehead. I've seen a little bit more from Noah Clowney. I have a little bit more knowledge on what he is and where he stands, but still not enough to my liking because I really, really like Noah Clowney a lot. And I feel the same way about Maxwell Lewis. And I think that just opens up the floodgates for that. And even Jalen Wilson out of Kansas and whatnot. So I love that. And then the Lakers also had got Shake Milton, which I didn't speak on, but I know Shake Milton on paper isn't a name that really goes crazy. But I've always been a fan of Shake Milton's game. He does not, get too much opportunity. That has to be something that he's doing in practice or when he's on the floor. Maybe he's not, living up to what coaches are expecting from him. But I could see a world where the Lakers give a Shake Milton an opportunity and he's able to carve out a lane for himself. He gives flashes of being able to be a steady type of combo guard. So I'm still rooting for Shake Milton. 6'5" guard, has all of the chops to have some scoring moments and whatnot. He's giving you 7 points and 2 assists and 2 rebounds right now while playing 18 minutes per game. I've always thought he was a guy that should at least be getting 20 minutes at the least, 20 to 25. So maybe with the Lakers, that opens up an opportunity. 46% from the field, 39% from 3-on-3 attempts. Give him a chance, Lakers. Give him a chance. It'll be very interesting to see what type of opportunity he's going to carve out, if he's going to carve out one. Not saying that he will. I'm just saying that regardless of what his identity or role has been on the last few teams, and where he stood in the rotation, I have always thought that Shake Milton was a solid player who I thought should get a little bit more time. But again, you never know what's going on behind the scenes at practice or whatnot. So that's the full breakdown there. One of the things that Bobby Marks did say before I get up out of here is that the Brooklyn Nets now have 31 draft picks over the next 7 years. They have 15 first-round picks and 16 second-round picks. So, yeah, the Nets, they're going to be extremely aggressive the rest of the trade deadline, I would imagine, trying to stockpile as many draft picks and assets and expiring contracts. But they're going to have a very, very interesting next year or two because they have their draft pick in 2025, which they're going to have a hard tank in the second half of the season to really get as high of a pick as they can. But then after that, they don't own their first round capital. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see the direction that they take as they kind of retool and rebuild their organization from the ground up once again. But as always, I appreciate y'all. The trade season is heating up. This is what we're here for. And any move happens, you know where to come first. Pee Wee the Plug, I got you. I'm out. Peace.